Hello and welcome to the Premier Football Podcast. Wow, it's been a long time since I've said that. Obviously, I'm joined remotely today by the show's co-star, Joseph Doherty. Joe, what have you been getting up to?
Me?
Yeah, you.
A bit of work, but not too much. A lot of exercise. I think, like most people, everyone's been going out and running and doing indoor workouts, bodyweight workouts and stuff. So just that, and loads of cooking. Everyone's cooking. So
What are you making? What's your signature dish?
I don't know if I'd have a signature dish, man. I try to make something different every weekend for the wife. A couple of weeks ago, I made tapas, which was nice. And then I made homemade pizzas last weekend. This weekend, I'm going to make some Middle Eastern food, some falafel, some fish. I don't know what type of fish. Oh, yeah, fish cakes, some Middle Eastern fish cakes, baba ganoush, stuff like that. So whatever tickles my fancy. Pretentious food. I'm a pretentious guy, right? As you very well know.
Now, obviously we haven't done a show in a few weeks. It just really didn't feel right talking or thinking about football. Well, obviously there was so much more going on, and obviously there is still so much more going on. But I think I've certainly got to a point where I felt like you can't spend every minute of every day thinking about that thing. We won't even name what it is. Like, this is you know that word. This show is going to be free of that word.
It's the Voldemort effect, isn't it?
Exactly. It's the thing that will not be named. But yeah, it's obviously we can't spend all day thinking about it, and there is still a world going on. There is still football happening, whether it's off the pitch rather than on the pitch for a change. But there's a lot to talk about, obviously, since we last spoke on air.
Oh yeah, there certainly is. I mean, that's the thing with football. Even in the, I mean, I suppose in the summer there's transfer sagas and things like that, which makes it a little bit more exciting. But there's always, when there are so many people who like to talk about a certain thing and write about a certain thing and make videos about a certain thing, then that medium is always going to be there to be discussed. So there's always people coming out with new opinions, the FA, UEFA, etc.
New changes to competition schedules, for example.
Yeah, the Belgian one, obviously, which we'll discuss later. Their decision to the Belgian FA to effectively stop the league now and then award Club Brugge the title. I think that they did only have one more game left to play, or two left in the season. Like, their season doesn't finish as late as the Premier League and La Liga, etc.
But they still hadn't officially wrapped it up, had they? They hadn't gone.
Yeah, they weren't champions. Yeah, they weren't champions in waiting. Yeah.
So I suppose that's probably a great first question to ask you, Joe. And it's a big one. Where should the Premier League go from here?
Man, I'm a bit torn. I would hate to cancel the season. I would. I think that'd be. I mean, as everyone who has watched the show knows, I'm an Arsenal fan. Arsenal are having their worst season in my living memory for decades. We were going back to the 70s, 80s, maybe even earlier than that. And I would be gutted if the season got cancelled as an Arsenal fan. Absolutely gutted. And I just think that we should finish it whenever possible. And, if we have to let transfers happen this summer for contractual reasons, then that's fine. But we should finish the season where possible.
I think that they have been saying that they could possibly put an extra couple of months automatically onto player contracts. There could be loopholes that they could just say, look, you're working till the end of August or whatever it is. And obviously they put a final date in for the Champions League, which is, I think, the 3rd of August for the final to be played before. So there are things that need to be settled. But I mean, with the unknown, you say play it whenever possible. What if the lockdown goes past Christmas?
Yeah, this is the thing. If we see, I mean, we live in Ireland. It's not so bad in Ireland. It's bad, but it's not UK bad.
What if say even the public gatherings are banned? Do you finish it behind closed doors?
No, I don't think so. I think that as long as public gatherings are banned, then you shouldn't. You're
waiting until the point where up to 80,000 people are allowed to gather in a single place at the same time.
Man, I just don't see how a contact sport can take place while this thing is going on.
Yeah, and of course, I'm not arguing with you because I necessarily feel it should be. But just to give that argument against you.
No. I think if we have to wait it out, we have to wait it out. And let's be honest. Like, there is a chance
could this become the 1920-21 season? Like, could it possibly be marked down in the calendar as something like that? Like, this was quite the season possibly, that just didn't end. Like,
quite possibly, man. And the strange thing is that next year, 2022, we have the World Cup in Qatar at Christmas time.
Well, that's almost a convenience if the calendars could be flipped slightly.
There might be a way to not lose out, if you get me.
To finish this season just before Christmas, take a long winter transfer break.
Yeah.
And then come back for a new season in January and play the calendar year.
I mean, the thing is, we've never seen anything like this. We had swine flu in 2009. I had SARS in 2003. you literally did have swine flu. But we've had these pandemics before, but they've not been like this. No. I think that what everyone's saying, like the world didn't stop for swine flu. Schools didn't close. Definitely, I remember we were in.
But I don't think the mortality rate was quite the same.
No, it was higher, but it wasn't as contagious.
Well, that's the same with
SARS. Yeah, it wasn't as contagious. Yeah, the same with SARS.
Well, what I'd be afraid of doing is drifting too far into debating the science of it. Like, obviously, neither of us are biological or contagious diseases experts, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, of course not.
We don't really know what we're talking about when it comes to that. Like, we'll do our best to throw a few darts at the old football opinions, but I wouldn't want to go down that track too far.
Considering the chief medical officers in some of the most wealthy countries in the world have been getting it wrong. We're not. I mean, that's the thing. It's an unknown disease, right? Like,
I don't know what you're talking about. We're not talking about anything like that in the show.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me throw it back at you then, man. What would you do? Because I of course, Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool have it won, but they don't have it won.
Yeah, and as you said, you're an Arsenal fan. You can kind of look on in somewhat as a neutral sense. Obviously, I've followed Liverpool for the best part of 20 years. Like, they're a massive part of my life, and obviously this is the best season we've ever seen them experience. Runaway leaders, like all sorts of record setters, and the thought of all of that possibly being voided or not being relevant is, I mean, it's heartbreaking in so many ways, but in other ways it actually almost feels natural. Like, I think as a Liverpool fan, your fate is to always be so close and then to always have it ripped away at you at the last possible second. Like, as we've seen in 2008, 2009, when Rafa Benitez started playing mind games with Alex Ferguson and they blew it. 2013-14, Steven Gerrard slipped. This season, obviously coming so close, and being runaway leaders, and then to possibly have it taken away because of a global pandemic. Like,
I think I have to say that one thing that shouldn't happen is that it gets scrapped. I think that can't happen. Either you call it now or you finish it when you can.
This is the thing. Liverpool are 25 points clear at the top of the Premier League. People will say they're not mathematically there, but they are.
Not just that, but like, we're well over halfway in the Premier League. We've got 10 games to go, 9 games to go for some teams, I think. It just doesn't feel right to scrap it all together. You'd then be, you just pull all of the. You're
playing a game of football,
delete all of this,
and you get past 70 minutes, I think is the law. The game is considered to be the result if it has to be abandoned at any stage, whether it's for weather, whether it's for trouble, whether it's for the safety of the referee or something like this. The score is considered to be that score, obviously, unless one team is fined or deducted for whatever. But the match stands after 70 minutes if it has to be abandoned, and we're well over 70% of the way through the Premier League season.
Yeah, we are. Well, 70 out of 90 is higher than 70%, isn't it? It'll be about 77% or something like that. But I know that's just me being an asshole. I completely get your point. we're well past that
It
stage.
might even be an hour. It might even have to be after 60
I
minutes.
think it might be 60 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which would be 2/3, right? And we are. It's 20,
28 games
28.
in.
Yeah, 28
10 left.
divided by 38. It's 73%, man.
So we're 3/4 of the way through the season.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I like, there are a lot of people. I haven't heard any pundit say it, but there's a lot of loudmouths on Twitter saying that the season should be null and void.
Well, man,
I would.
you've got former players in all sorts of camps coming out saying it should be scrapped, then players saying it should be awarded to Liverpool, and then people saying no, it has to be finished whenever. Like, everyone has an opinion on this.
Yeah.
And I like, who does it up to? Who does it come down to? I mean, UEFA have kind of asked the Premier League to get in line with their kind of deadline for the Champions League. They want the domestic leagues to kind of finish no later than early August for whatever reason.
Well, the other major European leagues haven't made a decision yet either.
No, they haven't. But who does it come down to? Like, is it entirely up to the individual leagues? I mean, what if UEFA want to start their Champions League competition next year in August, for example, but teams are still playing domestically here, so they don't know who they're going to be entering in those competitions. You know,
everyone has. I was going to say, everyone has to be in that conversation, don't they? From UEFA to the different football associations of the major of all of the European leagues, and then the teams as well.
Yeah,
they have to be in that conversation too. But who gets the final decision and who chairs that meeting? I don't know.
Like, UEFA have put down, I think it is the 3rd of August as the latest possible date that the Champions League and Europa League can be played. It's the first week of August. It's the 3rd of the 8th. But obviously they put that closure on it because they're planning on starting another competition.
Yeah.
Probably in September. It might be a little bit delayed or whatever, but they're planning on starting another competition. So if the Premier League or any league, if the French league or the Spanish league or whatever is still running on through, and they haven't got clear deciders as to who enters that league, surely UEFA can't run a Champions League then next year as a result.
Yeah. It would obviously have a serious knock-on effect on UEFA's plans.
Yeah.
Like, how are
this is why I think
going?
people would want to finish the league now, because to kind of get rid of all of this ambiguity, and then you can kind of be in the situation where as soon as this is all finished, you can start a new season from there and kind of just go from it. Because you could end up in a situation where, you know, players are a year older than they were before and they haven't played, and, you know, youth team players are coming in and suddenly it's actually a different team that are being fielded. Or if, you know, say players come back from loans or players' contracts expire, there does come a point where there will be different teams that are getting fielded to the teams that were being fielded.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes into the summer, I'm trying to think.
Well, there is a third option, Joe. That the games continue to be played behind closed doors.
No, I fundamentally disagree with that, man.
I'm not suggesting that it be done, but the argument, I think, is that players could go essentially into training camps like they do for international duty. It's something that they're doing in the UFC. The CEO, Dana White, is actually buying a private island off the US that they're going to host UFC fights on. It's going to be a you-know-what free zone, and testing people upon arrival and just consistently testing them close to every single day that they're on the island. It'll only be the fighters, their personal coaches, referees and match officials that are allowed onto the island. And
then they do pay-per-view events.
Do pay-per-view events every 2 weeks to keep the action going. And I mean, with all of the money that's invested in the Premier League, I would be very, very surprised if all of the major shareholders were happy to roll 2 seasons into one and reduce the number of matches that are being played with their logos and brands being displayed everywhere. And the teams would probably miss out financially. Like we saw we're seeing, when we'll talk about this in a couple of minutes, not all of the big clubs, but I think 4 or 5 big clubs in the Premier League furloughing their players in the UK.
Sunderland did it.
Sunderland did it. Portsmouth have done it. There are lots of big teams doing it to save money, and they're kind of putting on the face that the football club doesn't actually have a whole lot of money, and they're very dependent on this revenue. So, like with everything else in this world, money's going to win out at some stage. And people are going to start demanding that these guys go back to work because they're assets, if nothing else. Now, obviously, the footballers are human at the same time. So
you'll get people refusing. 100% people will refuse to play, and I wouldn't blame the man. If I was obliged to go into work now and I do not do an essential job, and footballers don't do an essential job, I would refuse.
No, and I understand that, but I also think there will be a large number of footballers that would want to go back to work.
That would want to, you mean?
Yeah, that would want to. I think you'd have a surprising number of people that want to get back out there that wouldn't mind going into camp and playing, like doing almost like a World Cup to finish it, playing games every 3 or 4 days. Like they've had a couple of weeks off now. You know what I mean? Body should be recharged, ready to go. Come in and just smash it out. How many games are left in the league? And yes, look, players might be missing. Some players might be missing from the teams, but it's like missing.
That's not safe to do. Teams have 25 players. That's 25 by 20. That's 500 players, and then there's the staff and everything. It's way too many people to be.
But you don't necessarily have them all in one place, man. You know what I mean? You have maybe 20 regional camps all away from each other where you play. You don't necessarily continue the TV schedule. You play against all of your local rivals as quickly as you can without trying to limit the spread of where you go. And you try only go to certain places, and you get it all done in the space of a month, maybe? No, 3 weeks. How many games would need to be played?
Yeah, 10 games. So you do that in a month.
10 rounds.
10 rounds of fixtures.
Yeah. So what? A game of football every 3 days? Every
3 or 4 days.
Every 3 days is what? 30 days, yeah.
Yeah. 3 a week. Wait. 3 a week for, yeah, you can do 3 games a week for 4 weeks. Two or 3 games a week for 4 weeks.
I think there might come a stage where they'll probably start talking about that. If we don't get to a point where it looks like there will be time to finish it before kind of August, once we start getting to June, July, they might start talking about bringing in this super month to get it all finished. They might even do hour-long games and play 2 in a day or something ridiculous. They might start looking at effective ways to get the league finished, even penalty shootouts or something. I don't know.
If the UK is in lockdown, that's illegal. They're not going to be able to do that.
No, they won't be. But I think you know as well that money has a tendency to talk, Joe, and exemptions can be made very quickly for things like this.
Of course it does, but like I said, if the UK is in lockdown, then that can't happen. But this, I mean, the situation, we don't want to talk about it too much, but we do have to say that right now the situation in the UK is very bad. Yesterday they recorded the highest number of deaths so far. It's over 6,000.
And
in other European countries, their prime minister's just taken into the ICU late last night. Apparently he's all right, thankfully, but still it's very bad. But in Austria, for example, they've started to lessen the lockdown. So there's no
lockdown in Sweden, man.
There's no lockdown in Sweden, and
apparently they're still shaking hands in Sweden.
Yeah, it's obviously very controversial, but I don't know the statistics, and we
will do our best really not to talk about what's going on around the world in terms
of course, but
health.
Just given the time, it's very difficult not to. Yeah. Especially when we're trying to link it into football.
Well,
like we are right now.
Look, we're totally dependent on what's going to happen, aren't we?
Mm.
It's all well and good us sitting here saying this could happen or this could happen or this is the best way to do it, but ultimately the circumstances are going to dictate what's possible and what's not possible.
Yeah.
Oh, I miss it though, man. I miss football.
Oh man, I do. I miss it badly. The thing is that you have said that every day is like you're sick off work. That kind of thing. It's like, for me, it's like a weekend day where I have to do a bit of work. Like I have some stuff, but most of my projects the absolute lion's share of my projects up until October were cancelled because of this. So there is work, but it's like I really have to make sure that I don't do too much every day to make sure that I don't have a day where I'm like, what the fuck am I meant to do? If you get me.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some of the football that was meant to be on over last weekend, I think Liverpool were meant to play City last Saturday in a game that could possibly be deciding the league. Like,
That was meant to, man. That was meant to decide the league. That was the game to decide
That
the
was
league.
it, wasn't it?
If
Yeah.
Liverpool had kept winning, and
If
City,
they had
and
both
City
won
kept,
their 2 or 3 games before that fixture, that would have been the decider. Or if they both slipped up, if they both drawn one or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
how?
look,
I mean, we've talked about it a bit by text, but like, it's not just obviously Liverpool running away with the league, but like the race for top four, like, I would say worse than last year in terms of teams throwing it away
yeah.
and other teams being involved in it.
The race to not finish fourth.
Yeah, but like teams like Wolves, Sheffield United, right up there.
Yeah, and
Right
I'd say you still reckon Arsenal have an outside chance.
Man, I'm 100% back. This is why I wanted to get back, because I'm sure Arsenal can finish in the top four. I'm absolutely sure, because they can. They're 3 or 4 points off fifth.
Yeah. Do you know what though? I'd be worried about United getting some players back from injury over this break.
Man, don't mind United.
I think we're going to see a very different United team next year. We haven't had a chance to talk about it properly, man.
I don't think
Bruno
so.
Fernandes is hot.
He's a good player.
He is.
What do you think of Odion Igalo? Do you know his Chinese club? I think it's Shanghai Shenhua have offered him £400,000 a week.
I saw that. Yeah. Well, man, because he's just done a few months at United. Everyone's talking about him. Like, he's suddenly famous again. He's a marketing tool all of a sudden to them.
Has he done that well? I think he scored 4 in 8, and all bar 1 have been in the Europa League.
But so people are talking about him though, man.
5 games in the Premier League.
And China is all about revenue. People are talking about him. He's a Manchester United player coming back to China, kind of thing. If you can link yourself to Manchester United, you're going to make money in China.
Yeah, that's true. Fergie used to do that. Fergie used to try to sign a Chinese player from time to time. And Wenger used to sign Japanese players.
I'm making absolutely no comment about signing of Asian players into the Premier League. No, they I don't think was it Korean players they used to like at United.
Well, they had Ji-sung Park, but they signed. Oh, what was this again?
They had Kagawa as well from Japan.
There was one guy, I can't remember his name. I think his first name was Dong, but I can't remember his surname. And he never played for them. He just played preseason games and then went on loan.
How many appearances do you reckon Minamino will make for Liverpool next season?
I reckon he'll be gone out on loan. Or else, if he stays, he'll make like 10, 15 in all competitions at best.
He really didn't set the world on fire when he in his cameos this season. But
no,
it's people take time to adjust to the Premier League, so I'll never judge anyone in the first 6 months. We said it about Pepe at the start of the season, not to judge anyone.
Yeah, no, of course.
Year in the Premier League. So,
what I would say is that you signed the wrong Leipzig player.
I'd agree with that.
Or was it Salzburg? Sorry, Salzburg. My bad. Salzburg. Yeah, when you see that, when man, would you have taken Haaland? Like, I think he's the next big thing, like the generation.
Was that an actual question? Would I?
I know you love Firmino so much, so that's why.
I think Firmino is gradually being groomed to be a central midfielder. He's going to be a box-to-box. He's going to be a number 8 man. Klopp loves that kind of industrious player in midfield with a bit of quality like that. Like he's like Coutinho without the long-range shooting in terms of flair, but he's much more mobile. Like Klopp was delighted to get rid of Coutinho because he wasn't mobile. He doesn't want talented players. He wants players like that in midfield. So I mean, if we sign a striker, like Klopp said before that Firmino can play as an 8 if needed. So I think he'd be more than happy to drop him in there. I think Gini Wijnaldum is out of contract next summer, not this summer, but he's going down to under a year, so they might.
Milner's going to go, obviously.
He's got to retire at some stage, surely, or at least go back to Leeds for a season if they do come up.
Yeah, or else he could join the Liverpool. He could join the Liverpool coaching staff, right? Surely.
I mean, he could, but I think, man, he's still the fittest player at the club. I know he's had a couple of injuries this year. But...
No, but you get to us, man. James Milner was playing for Leeds at the age of 16, and I know Ryan Giggs was doing the same for United, and he played until he was 40. Yeah. But you get to a stage where your match awareness, like you've just played too much. Like you're over the peak.
I'd never say that about James. James Milner surprises you every time he steps on a football pitch. You just can't comprehend that someone his age is just doing it like that, but he just does it. He's like Ronaldo, man. You're waiting for him to stop, like, and he just doesn't. He looks after himself so well. Fair
play to him as well. Like, he's still a key part of that team. And that was kind of he was a free signing from Manchester City, right?
Man, they missed a serious trick letting him go.
Yeah, I still think right now he wouldn't fit into their midfield because I don't think
he plays
he
a
does.
6.
No, he wouldn't because he's not a 6.
He can play anywhere. This is the thing about James Milner. He can literally play anywhere.
He is good. The thing is, he's very good without being remarkable. And I don't think that City like players like that. Even
Fernandinho did it for so long.
No, man, Fernandinho is remarkable in his ability to foul players in and around the halfway line without getting booked. He's remarkably good at that.
James Milner gets booked for his fouls, in fairness. They're normally very obvious when he clatters someone.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the Premier League and that's the Champions League, essentially, in terms of scheduling and stuff. Another interesting thing that's happened is that the Euros have been moved to next summer.
Yeah.
I know you're going to enjoy this question because you probably haven't thought about it. Do you think that would be better or worse for England to move them by a year?
Oof. I think better. England are a young side. I think that in some areas they don't have quite a set team. They were going into this summer without Harry Kane in his full fitness. Marcus Rashford as well, who's been to be fair to him, in very good form for Manchester United. I'd like to see the defense grow a little bit better. I think that Harry Maguire needs another season. He's been all right this year for Manchester United, but for that kind of money, you'd have to say he's a flop. He'd have to.
Harry Maguire needs to have a trip to the England B team. Like, he's really not that good. I'm just going to say it now.
I just think that they might need another centre back because John Stones also is not that good.
No,
so I think that more time is actually good for England.
Maybe guys like Nathan Ake might. No, he's Dutch, isn't he?
He's Dutch, yeah.
Who is guys like Tamori, and who's the other young English lad?
Well, there's the guy who plays for Spurs. I can't remember his name. He's very flexible. He can play fullback as well, but he hasn't been called up.
Tongai Tambore. What's his name?
Tamori is the
no, not Tamori.
Chelsea centre back. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he looks all right. I also want England to develop some more central midfielders because I worry greatly about them bringing the likes of Harry Winks.
I knew you were going to say Harry Winks.
Man, I don't know. Is
it Tanganga? Is that his name?
Tanganga, yeah, I think so. Or Tangana.
Tanganga.
Let me Google it because we're butchering the poor chap's name. And to be fair, he's coming to Spurs and he's done.
Yeah, I saw him make his debut against Liverpool and he was very good. Tanganga.
Yeah, Japhet Tanganga.
Where did he learn his football? At Spurs.
Where did he learn his football? Spurs Academy. He's been there since 2009. So he's a Spurs lad. He joined at the age of 9 or 10.
Poor fella.
Of course, poor fella. But to be fair, we would jump at the chance to join any Premier League academy.
Here's a question, man. Would you prefer?
Yeah.
Okay. To play for. Would you prefer to play professional football in a championship or play professional football in the Premier League for Spurs?
Can I choose which championship team?
One that isn't going to get promoted anytime soon.
Man, I'd play for Spurs. And you would play for United.
You know what? I genuinely don't know if I would. And it's all well and good me saying this age 27, but I think I'd be more than happy playing, consistent good championship football on a consistent wage that was more than enough to look after everybody. Manchester United. I'd feel sick. I would feel sick putting on Manchester United clothing every day. I'd feel ill.
You couldn't turn that down. You couldn't turn that down. I promise you.
I couldn't live with myself. Manchester United.
I could easily play for Manchester United. It would be. I would feel sick playing for Spurs, but I could do it because
like
the money would be good and the exposure would be good. Like you get a much better chance.
who's who's a
Say if you're playing
consistent Southern Championship team?
Brentford,
Yeah.
Charlton.
No, Charlton. There's nothing consistent about Charlton. I hope
They're very up and down. They're very up and down. Yeah, Brentford. Brentford are a consistent championship team.
Brighton, man. Brighton are a consistent championship team.
But they're in the Premier League, but they are a championship
not for
team.
long.
Okay, I'd rather play for. I really don't want to play for Spurs, but if you think
Would you
about
play for Brighton or Spurs? There you go.
Well, I think at Brighton probably you're ceiling in terms. Well,
no, that's the straight up question. Play for Brighton or Spurs?
It depends on the money. If they're offering the same amount of money, I play for Brighton. If they're offering the same amount of money, I play for Brighton. Obviously, if Spurs
they're not offering. They're not offering the same amount of money though. Spurs are offering twice as much. 60 grand a week versus 30 grand a week.
Then I go and play for Spurs, obviously.
If you had said,
man, you're
no,
thinking
because I want to play in Europe, but then Spurs aren't going to be in Europe either. So.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say that.
Speaking of Spurs crumbling under pressure, they have come under a whole lot of pressure from their fans, Joe, to reverse the decision to furlough their non-playing staff. Liverpool obviously came to the pressure before they've even done it. They reversed the decision before it came into action. Have Spurs, has it come into action at Spurs yet, or have they just announced the
decision? I do know that they haven't reversed the decision, but I don't know.
I know they haven't reversed it, no, but they're coming under pressure to do it.
They are certainly
obviously done it as well, and two other Premier League clubs.
Do you know what? How unsurprised were you that Newcastle did it?
Well, they were the first to do it, weren't they?
Yeah, this Mike Ashley. Interestingly enough, I'm buying some resistance bands for indoor exercise, and like Sports Direct have good ones, but I won't shop on Sports Direct out of principle.
I mean, I don't mind a cheap pair of football boots, man. I mean, the owners of all these big companies, you can morally debate the differences between them, but I mean,
that's true. It's just because Mike Ashley is Mike Ashley, and he's
like, do you know what I mean? Like, what type? If you were going to buy football boots, you'd be buying Nike football boots or Adidas. You'd be buying Adidas. But I mean, then you're just giving all the money to Adidas. Like,
I like Adidas.
But that's just because you like brands, though. Like, I mean, there's nothing actually likable about the Adidas company, and I'm sure if you actually started investigating chairman and stuff, this is the issue with life these days, man. You can't ever be totally clean in terms of what you consume, because there's always stuff up the food chain. Like,
of course you can't. It's the same in politics as well. Because you can't put people or companies on a pedestal because everyone's got their flaws.
Well, this is it.
Yeah. No, but going back to Spurs, I like that's a disgrace, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, Sunderland have obviously done it, and Portsmouth have done it as well as of today. But those are both obviously League One teams with massive overheads.
Especially, no, Portsmouth, of course, but especially Sunderland.
Anyone that's watched Sunderland till I die will be aware of the situation going on there. Portsmouth are championship.
I haven't watched it yet. I will watch it, but like,
oh man, the second season is fantastic.
It doesn't take a genius to work out that a club with a 60,000, not 60.
I think it's 48,000, 48,50.
Yeah, 50,000 seater stadium.
I mean, it's at least 48. They were trying to fill it. I think they were trying to get 48,500 or something. I think that's the capacity.
Yeah, but they like. I was going to say they need to just start to. This is over. Do concerts there, but like, who the fuck wants to go up to Sunderland to watch to perform? I don't know.
No, there's no concerts going on anytime soon, though.
No, exactly. But not like obviously
you can understand teams with. I think Sunderland mentioned in the documentary they have an annual revenue of about 18 million quid.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at Liverpool, who made something like 2 billion quid last year. There's a massive difference in the club's capacity to pay non-playing staff in a period of downturn in revenue in terms of gate sales and shirt sales and whatever, and stadium tours. If the money's not coming in, it can't go out. But The difference is that the Premier League clubs have a huge amount of money behind them.
Of course they do. And the people that own Premier League clubs themselves have huge amounts of money as well.
Well, that's it. I think the outrage at Liverpool was John Henry, the CEO, obviously, of Fenway Sports Group, is worth $2 billion himself. Mm. And the thought that he would be... I think they tried to defend it in many different ways for 2 or 3 days, and then they quickly came back on it.
It's indefendable. It's not for clubs like that. It's not
no,
for
it's not.
big clubs.
I think the argument of the Premier League clubs is that, like any... They refer to themselves as businesses, and they say, like any business,
they are businesses.
We have a regular income of cash rather than income. So the cash that comes through the club is from gates and jerseys and sales at the stadium, when people will come and actually hand them money. That's their cash, their disposable income that pays the non-paying staff. Whereas all of the player wages are allocated from various sponsorships and from various other platforms. And I mean, it's not like the money isn't there, the money can't be moved around, but all of this will be recorded as losses on future spreadsheets. And when they're considering things like UEFA financial fair play, they don't want to suddenly be down 5 or 10 million quid on those spreadsheets that could cost them buying a player in a year or whatever it is. I don't think they're worried about losing the money, but I think they're worried about what the effect of losing the money will make their books look like come next year.
But they have to bite the bullet, don't they?
They do. They do. We can try to defend it, but the money is there. That's totally a human decision being made by a rich man somewhere.
Yeah. Like if the money's there, they have to pay their staff. Like they're still paying their players. The thing about Sunderland is that Sunderland are not. Sunderland have furloughed their players.
Exactly.
That's a completely different thing.
I think
Sunderland have furloughed everyone.
I think I worked out the other day that if Liverpool were to furlough 500 non-playing staff at 35 grand a year, it still wouldn't equate to a week of Mesut Ozil's wages. Or it was a month. It was a month of Ozil's wages. I sent you this message the other day. It was 1 month of Ozil's wages would be the equivalent of 1 month of all the non-playing staff at Liverpool.
Ozil is paid £1.4 million a month. Yeah,
and that I think it was about 1.2 or 1.3 million that the Liverpool non-playing staff would cost every month.
Yeah,
and I started to think like, wow, that's a lot of money or whatever. And then I'm like, no, that's a lot of money for people like us. That's not a lot of money for people in charge of these football clubs.
Exactly.
Manchester United have come out today and said that they will not be furloughing any staff.
That's very good of them, and that should be the message from every financially stable football club. Like, you could understand if a club's like about to enter administration.
Yeah, I think Norwich have done it. They're obviously the smallest team in terms of revenue in the Premier League. So if you're going to look at it like that, yeah, of course.
But Norwich are going to get some sweet parachute payments. Pretty soon.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? For the next couple of years, they'll be all right. But they haven't got it yet, though. You know what I mean? They don't have large amounts of disposable income.
Yeah. Well, Didier Smith. Well, no, I'm not going to say it.
I think Liverpool paid £48 million in agency fees in the last 2 years. Agency fees alone.
Yeah, not even transfer fees.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the kind of money that we're talking about that's involved.
Yeah. Liverpool have tons of cash right now.
Yeah. They made record profits last year. Obviously, they won the Champions League. They came so close in the Premier League. They were on TV every single week. Shirt sales would have spiked with so many new players and fans from around the world getting involved. Yeah, they made record revenue last year. So they cannot. And for Liverpool as well, and I don't want to keep banging the Liverpool drum, and obviously Liverpool fans have been getting stick online for the last few days for this means more, whatever, you'll never walk alone until suddenly they did this. But you would not expect that kind of thing from Liverpool.
You wouldn't.
Of all cities. I'm not going to talk about the club as some club that's morally superior to other clubs, even if I think it's true. But the city definitely have that opinion of themselves. The Scousers definitely.
Well, Liverpool is the heartland of the Labour Party, isn't it?
Exactly.
It really is. It's traditional working class city.
There's the whole Scouts Not English campaign, and they really see themselves as a cut above, and really are morally superior in so many ways. So yeah, I think a lot of people felt very out of touch with what was really a ridiculous decision to come to, wasn't it? I don't think it'll be one that will be forgotten anytime soon, though.
No, it won't, and I don't think it was one that the owners thought through, or whoever, or the CEO, whoever made the decision.
No, I mean, you've got James Milner and Jordan Henderson campaigning for wage cuts across the board to go to charities and go to frontline workers and all this, and then you've got this kind of thing going on in the background.
They can't have thought it through. It's just not possible. When they did think it through, they made the right decision to reverse their original ill thought out decision. They just thought this government scheme is available and we should take it because it's there. But it's not for... Liverpool are not going to crumble if they have, I don't know, 6 months without taking in any ticket sales or TV money. They're not.
Certainly not.
Or prize money as well. Like, they have serious money in the bank. Liverpool's value has almost gone up by 10 times since Fenway Sports got involved. It was worth £350 million when they bought the club, and now it's worth over £2 billion.
They have been very interesting owners. I mean, at the start, there was a lot of there was obviously still delight that they got rid of the old owners, Hicks and Gillette. People were delighted.
I think, man, it was because
they didn't want to spend money for a long time. Sorry, go on.
No, I think also because it was Americans replacing Americans as well.
It was, but they were also reluctant at the start to start firing cash around. They would only buy young players. They wouldn't. There was a couple of players that managers wanted that they wouldn't go out and buy. They said, no, we're not going to pay money for any player over the age of 25. They only took in free transfers, and they did a lot of them. And they had their transfer committees for Brendan Rodgers that would kind of propose players that he could pick from. He wasn't giving them a list; they were giving him a list, kind of thing. And that's how Balotelli ended up there. And I mean, they seem to have been getting it all wrong for a considerable period of time until they suddenly got it right.
I would love to know who else was on that list of strikers in 2019 for Brendan Rodgers to pick, because it must have been absolutely shite.
I think it was. I think I've read it before, and it was dirt.
For him to say Mario Balotelli is the guy I
Well, I think that he didn't want anyone on the list, and because Balotelli was on a reduced price, he said, look, take a punt on this lad, because he did have some sort of talent.
No doubt. No, it's just that he's the opposite of a Brendan Rodgers player.
Yeah, but I mean, since they got it right, they were kind of widely praised as these brilliant owners that are kind of really, really were the best owners in terms of how they manage the football club, in terms of their recruitment policy and, you know, their marketing and all sorts of things that they were doing really, really right. For them to turn around and do this just seems totally out of character for the image that the club was trying to send off.
Yeah, it was completely.
I mean, it wasn't contradictory to Newcastle's image, was it?
Well, if Newcastle was run by someone who's Newcastle through and through, it would be very contradictory to Newcastle's image. But right Newcastle's run by Mike Ashley, so it would be a shock if he hadn't done it as soon as he did.
What about Spurs?
No, it's not a surprise. And Daniel Levy gets a lot of praise for how he runs his club, but at the same time, making a decision like this when you have the amount of money that they have and are worth what they are right now is a disgrace, and they should be condemned for it more than they are being condemned for it right now. If Arsenal did this, I would be absolutely outraged. And I've seen obviously I follow a good amount of Arsenal fans on Twitter, and a lot of people are saying that they'll give up their season tickets if Arsenal do this. And people should do that. That should absolutely be the response. Yeah. Now, the season tickets would likely get bought by other people because there's a years long waiting list. It's still, like, you know, that's like it's a joke for the big six in the Premier League to be furloughing non-playing staff is just, it's criminal.
Yeah, it really is. Someone's having a good time in the background, are they?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Having a play. Yeah, right. I think we're getting to that stage.
I think we might be, man. Like, I'm glad, there is a good bit to talk to, and I look forward to the next one as well. But it's like, it's a strange one. It's kind of a take it as it comes type period with no matches to discuss as well. It's like, as we've said, it's just unprecedented. No one could have predicted this a couple of months ago.
It's almost. Have you felt that it's becoming, almost like a transfer window or like a summer break already?
Yeah, big time.
I saw that Jesse Lingard was linked with Arsenal.
No, yeah, I saw that as well. That's insane. No way. No way. No way. For a start, he's on over 100 grand a week at Manchester United. He's 27, 28, and he's shite. Most importantly, he's shite. There's just no way that those rumors are true. Absolutely no way. And he would cost money as well. He would cost money. He's tied into a long-term contract at Manchester United and on big wages. He costs £30 million. Absolutely no way. No way. I saw that as well, though. I think it's just the media trying to piss off Arsenal fans and get clicks.
I think it probably is. I think it works with you.
Of course it did. I actually didn't click on an article because that's just ridiculous. There's no way that's
true. Right. Well, Joe, as always, it's been absolutely brilliant to talk to you.
It's been great work, yeah.
Right. Well, look, thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for watching if you've made it this far. And yeah, hopefully we'll bring you some more content.
Someone climbed up. He climbed up by himself.
Hello, little man.
Say hi to the internet, Malachi. He pulled down my phone. All right.
Brilliant.
All right, talk to you soon, man. That was great.
Talk to you. Thanks for that.
Yeah.